Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Doing business and life with a purpose, serving others, and yes, achieving success. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to make impact in your world. The things closest to you, make an impact there. My guest is incredible. We're going to talk leadership and things about leadership that will make an impact. But while you're listening to my great guests today, I want you to think about how you're going to serve today and what impact you're going to create today with that service. Do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Yesterday's gone. Do it today. Let's see who you can help and who you can create an impact for. I want to thank my sponsor, pitchdb.com. Be a guest in over 3 million podcasts, speak at over 11,000 conferences, and much more. Build your thought leader platform with an incredible opportunity to show who you are. With that being said, impact, but thought leader is what comes to mind when I think of my guest. Talk about helping people with expertise, but doing it with a servant's heart. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve, glad to be on. And, I could listen to you all day. So maybe we just skip interviewing me and you just talk. This is going to be wonderful.
My audience going to go, hey, no, enough of Steve. I hear enough of Steve, but thank you very much. But this is an interesting question. I just love being purpose is so important. But how can I be purposeful in my business, but also my life?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. And one of the things about purpose is very, very interesting. There's really kind of a dual meaning there. And most of the time when people are saying, what is my purpose? There's generally a measure of their identity is what they're actually looking for. So one of the things in coaching is you got to go beyond the words that are being spoken and listen, what is it that they're really saying? But the other part of purpose is something that serves. So I can fulfill my identity through my giftedness really well. I can serve purpose in a massive way through my giftedness, but I can serve multiple purposes. Right? I was having a conversation with my son just a few minutes ago. He was this very thing. We had this very conversation. And I said, son, you can serve in so many ways. He's in Disney World right now. I said, you can serve in so many ways. And I said, your giftedness. I said, what people are telling you, and he shared a few things that people are telling him, the value that he brings. I said, that's a clue into your giftedness. And whenever you can really focus in that area, or you can really add value to people's lives in a great way.
How does giftedness, which is a great word, relate to leadership?
Yeah, good question. So here's a great example. Two areas of giftedness for me are clarity, being able to have that discernment and bring clarity to situations, and communication, connecting. Two wonderful gifts that I've had, and gifts that I've also honed those gifts once I've recognized it. Now, that being said, some colleagues of mine, we had an opportunity come to us where we were able to serve a company in a global way. And so they were all across the globe. And one of my colleagues, he's just so gifted in the subject of leadership. And he's got so much experience there. Our second colleague, he's so gifted in executive presence and speaking. And my area of giftedness is through communication and understanding what matters to other people simply by the way that they communicate, and then being able to craft your communication in such a way that you connect with them and gain influence. Us recognizing our different giftedness, we came together and put together a curriculum that just really, really skyrocketed that organization. And now it's in demand. We're getting more response. But that's just a great example of understanding our value. And I just want to say one more quick thing about that, Steve. Um, One of the greatest days of my life was when I recognized that I'm not the big picture. I'll never be the big picture, but I am such a critical piece. Like think of a jigsaw puzzle. I was telling my son this. He said, "Dad, I'm on the backside of Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World, and the building it's just amazing." I said, "Son, imagine that building you're seeing that's amazing. Imagine if it was a jigsaw puzzle and one piece is missing, that picture's incomplete." And that's like us. And so to answer your question, in leadership, when I understand my giftedness, the part that I complete and I focus in that area, that's what John Maxwell talks about. He talks about operating your strengths, operating your strengths, and that will give you the greatest return and that'll give you the greatest reward. So I hope that answers the question, but it's basically being the best version of yourself to serve people in the best way that you can.
So what I'm hearing, Gary, which is powerful for the audience to hear, find your giftedness first and foremost, or as you do when you're growing. But what a powerful way of growing and up leveling yourself and your business by knowing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the ways that you can do that, and I encourage those that I work with and anyone I share this with. So there's four very powerful questions. I did this exercise myself. I sent these questions by email to lots of people that know me very well, in both professionally and personally, family. And the four questions are: what's it like to sit across the table from me? Number one. Two, what are my strengths? Number three, what are my areas for growth? And number four, is there anything else? And you will begin to see a pattern. And the truth is, when you see the pattern of value that you bring to people, you really you'll recognize it. And here's why you recognize it, Steve. Because human behavior, we always communicate what we value anyway. So what I bring to a conversation are things that I value. And many times it's my area of giftedness is why I'm so passionate about bringing it to the table.
Those are powerful words right there. That's a game changer for somebody, for business and life. It goes both ways. I think there's a bridge there. Of course, the bridge is always moving with life and business. There's no balance. I know people talk about balance in life and business. It's managing it more than balancing it, I think is the key.
That's right.
Well, we know COVID's probably passed. Let's pray that it is. But during COVID and a few years after, a ton of businesses lost ground. How can you help them, or if they're still around, help them now?
Man, I'm glad you asked that question. It's really a mission of mine, specifically in 2024, to help companies, business owners reclaim what they've lost. And I think if in areas of their business that they've lost, I think if we had 100 business owners on this podcast, 1,000 business owners on this podcast, we asked, hey, raise your hand if you lost ground in some area in your business. I think we'd have 1,000 hands go up. I really do. There's 9 key areas of our business that we need to be paying attention to. Now, in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, John Maxwell himself said, there's about 5 or 6 of these that at best I'm average. That's what he said. I was sharing this with a client in Korea. He was asking about a leadership book, and I said, 21 laws. Next time we come together, he said, there's 21. I said, I know, and it doesn't mean that you're good at all of them, but you focus on the area that you are. Now, that being said, there's 9 areas, critical areas in our business that we really need to be paying attention to. We may not recognize that there's some that we just haven't been paying attention to. We will generally pay attention to things that we know that we know well and that are important to us. But things such as metrics. I have I've worked within companies where the management will say, "Well, I wish this employee would do this. I wish they would." And I was just hoping that they would rise up and they begin to, get the hint. I heard them say that. And so I'd ask them, I'd say, "Well, have you ever sat down with them and written out the expectations of their job position and what that performance should look like?" And they go, "Well, no, I haven't." I said, "Well, now's a good time. Now's a good time." And so performance metrics being one of them, time management being another, training and development is another. All of these are directly tied to employee retention, customer satisfaction, productivity. Now, statistically, 79% of employees are disengaged in the workplace because they don't feel valued. They don't feel there's a connection between them and senior management. So that's where the communication piece comes into place and growing that emotional intelligence. So, all that being said, we have worked with companies in these key areas and seen their productivity explode. Millions of dollars of improved new revenue, new sales coming in once they begin to work in a fashion that we call organizational health. Right? Think of your body, and your body, things that got to be functioning, right? I shared with one group. I asked the middle management. I said, "How connected are you to your people in the field?" And they looked at one another and they looked at me and they said, "What do you mean?" And well, that was kind of my answer as well. I said, "Well, I said the leadership is like the heartbeat of the organization, pumping the blood of life through the organization." I said, "Middle management," I said, "you're the arteries. You take that blood flow and you transport it to the rest of the body." And I said, "So if you're not connected to your people," I said, "well, then if you were to cut my wrist, it's just a matter of time, right?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Well, for the health of your company, if you stay disconnected from your people, your employees, it's just a matter of time." I said, "Your organization will go into shock." And so I've got a little bit of a medical background as well, Steve. But they got it. They got
Yeah.
it, and we're able to turn things around. So
Yeah, and that
it's
resonates
just
with people. Yeah,
yeah,
you bring the medical. I mean, it's like you go into shock and you got to come in and with the paddles and shock the heart of the business
yeah.
again when they fall to that level, which is, but they're all saved if they're willing to listen. How much is accountability tied to all this?
Oh, accountability is huge. My second book that I'm writing right now, the name of it is, well, I think this will be the name of it, but the principle within is receivability. I think it's one of the greatest abilities, Steve. And because I won't be accountable unless I receive the gravity of it. I won't be accountable unless I receive that you're my leader, and I have to follow you, and that I'm responsible for these things. I've got to receive that into myself. I've got to receive the day-to-day instruction where you say, "Yes, Gary, this is good, and here's a way that you can improve." I got to receive every bit of that, and I got to receive the fact that I'm part of this organization. I'm part of this organism. If we go back to the idea of our physical health, I've got to receive that, and because you could hire me today, Steve, and I will choose the amount of value that I bring. Every day I come to work for you, I'll choose that value. Well, I've got to receive the fact that there is more for me, that I can rise up through this organization, that I can add additional value to your organization if I'm working. So that accountability piece, I tie it back to receivability. It goes back to what you said earlier. Um, they they've got to want it. They've got to want it. But accountability is absolutely huge. So very quickly, one of the areas that I work with leaders in that area is there is such a thing in leadership as self-serving leadership. Okay, so here's the example. If my personality style is one that doesn't like confrontation, okay, there's one of the four main personalities that confrontation can be difficult, and so uh, they'll procrastinate the conversation. Well, what if I'm a leader that has a difficult time having those crucial conversations? And I don't hold you accountable to a certain performance metric, let's say. I'm not having the conversation with you because it feels icky on the inside for me to have a direct conversation. In that way, who am I really serving? And that way, I would really be serving myself. And so that's a piece. That's a piece that I like to bring to light with leaders of accountability and the importance of accountability, because you've got to be serving that thing that's bigger than you, the vision of the organization, serving your people through your leadership position. And I think it's something that's very, very critical for leaders to be mindful of. We can be self-serving if we're not careful. And so we've got to understand that we're accountable. I'm accountable to hold people accountable, right? As a leader. So.
Yeah, and those are so well said. And every leader always starts with yourself first. If you can't be a leader yourself, there's no way you can mentor and lead others. And that's where self-improvement helps. Personal development, whatever words you want to use, are so important. You need to grow every day. So you talked about want. What do you really want?
Great question. That's one that I start every strategic plan that I do with organizations. That's the number one question. What do you want? And I always encourage them, especially when it's on a personal level, I always encourage them to include yourself in this, right? What do you really want? And the reason I say that, Steve, is because if it's not something that you're passionate about, then your stick-to-itiveness, that's a word that a mentor of mine coined for me. That stick-to-itiveness, it doesn't last unless it's something that you're very passionate about. So it's got to really matter to you. What do you really want? So what I really want, there's areas of my life that absolutely, there's areas of my life that I've lost dream over the years, and I want to regain that. There's some things that we got to do to regain that. In business, I've got to help a whole lot of people get to their yes if I want to get to my yes. In relationships, I'll share a quick story. Relationships. There was a rift between my wife, our oldest son, and our daughter for about 18 months once they got married. And we had a list, you could say. Everybody's got that list, right? Of things. And you could say that we had a list. And well, it just really came to my wife and I of what we needed to do. And we just came to the understanding, you know what, they got a list too. And so we called our son and daughter-in-law over, and we just knew within our spirit this is what we needed to do. The idea was downloaded to us, if you will. And I said to him, I said, son, whatever I have said that is hurting you, I want you to know that I'm sorry and I love you. And I knew that I needed to say that, and then hush. And that was exactly what was needed, Steve. And I would not have prescribed that. I don't know, probably in 100 years, I would have never thought of that if God had not just really put that in our heart, that that's what we needed to do. Our relationship today is absolutely amazing. I could show you the text message from my daughter-in-law, who I love dearly. Sent me a message last Father's Day, wishing me happy Father's Day, and I'm so glad you're my father. That's what she said. Now, I said that to say this. What you really want, there's going to be some things that you need to let go of. And I want to focus on those two words, let go. Because last year, I recognized that those are my two words for life. A lot of times you have a word for the year, right? Well, these are my two words for life, let go. So if you want what you really want, and you're really going to go get it, there's some things you're going to have to let go of. That the definition of those two words, let go, there's two definitions. And the first one is to relinquish your grip, and that's intuitive. You can figure that. This second one, absolutely huge. The second definition says to allow to move forward without restraint.
Mm.
The fact that we let go of this list. John Maxwell, in his book, High Road Leadership, one of the chapters in there, if you're going to be a high road leader, stop keeping score. That's one of the chapters. Stop keeping score. Take that list, wad that thing up, get rid of it. The fact that we let go of the list, we allowed the relationship to move forward without restraint. There are things that business owners today have not been able to let go of. Some of it is fear. Some of it is ideas that they're stuck within the plan. They're in analysis paralysis. Some of it is the old way of doing things. Some of it are these paradigms that they just can't break through. There's things that you're going to have to let go. Some of it is the fact that they don't want to delegate positions, leadership positions, right? They don't want to let go of that central focus of leadership. And you're going to have to. You're going to have to expand if you're going to scale, if you're going to grow your business. If they will let go, they will literally allow their business to move forward without restraint. And all of that ground that they lost, they'll recover. They'll recover. I've watched it happen through designed coaching and focus in these 9 areas. I've watched it happen. Business owners begin to regain lost ground. I'm on a mission to help them do it in 2024. Why do I say that? Because the second question after what do you really want, it's really a statement, is set me a time. If you do not set a time, organized planning will not come forward. That time, you say, I want to recover this lost ground in 2024, that spurs organized planning. And unless you have that, you won't make
You're
it.
not going over. Yeah.
You won't regain that lost ground.
This is powerful stuff. This is what turns businesses around. Exactly what you're saying, which people feel they can't. And lost, the hope is lost, faith is lost, fear is there, everything you said. Let's get a little personal with Gary. I want to know a little personal about Gary. What does Gary do outside of work? What do you enjoy doing outside of work?
I enjoy racquetball. I love racquetball. I love golf, and both of them have been doing pretty well lately. The biggest problem that I have is, I guess this aging thing is real,
Yeah,
and
it
so
is.
plantar fasciitis starts showing up,
Yeah.
and hip pain and shoulder pain starts showing up, and I ran into the wall the other day and hurt my ribs and couldn't hardly breathe for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, if I could get past all that stuff, then it would be amazing. But I love racquetball. I love golf. And my wife and I together, outside of going to eat, we we like to hike. And so generally, we will incorporate some hiking in with eating. So if we're in the Great Smoky Mountains, we'll hike up to Rainbow Falls or Grotto Falls, one of those falls, and we'll do it to where we'll get done at about 4:30 because that's when the Peddler Steakhouse opens.
Oh, look at that.
So we hike and then we go eat. So yes,
Well, that's using a message of time, of planning. Make a time to recover. Well, you make a time to know that here, this is where Peddler opens. You just followed your rules, but you just did it in life. And you know what's interesting, Gary? My family launched and started a health club with racquetball in 78. From 78 to 2000, we had a racquetball club. So I haven't heard racquetball in years, and people that know me are listening are going, it was called Royal Courts, and I was the manager and director eventually at the club. And yeah, loved racquetball. It's a lost sport.
I bet you were awesome. I bet you were awesome.
I was pretty good, but my cousins were really good. My dad played up to 70 years old. was he maybe a little younger, but he was playing, in his elderly year. He loved it. He loved playing. He's Italian, so he loved that competition and the sweat and all that great stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
well, this has been such a blessing. You've really, if people are listening, I hope they are, you've really helped them. So if people want to reach out to you and find out more, how can they find you, Gary?
Yeah. Thanks for asking it. Gary at GaryWhiteCoaching.com. That's my email. So Gary White Coaching. Everything is centered around that. So that's my website. At LinkedIn, it's Gary White Coaching. Facebook, it's Gary White Coaching. And so yeah, reach out. Love to connect with you. I've got on May 16th. I've got a webinar. You'll see it on LinkedIn. Just go to my site, Gary White Coaching, and you'll see a webinar where I'm going to be talking about a little bit about some of those 9 things that inside your business, and I'll focus on some of that. Got some free gifts for you, a free ebook just for registering, and when you show up, I've got some free things that I'm going to give you right after that webinar. So
awesome, and this will come out way before that. Today is the 9th. I'll get this out in the next couple of days so people have opportunity to reach out.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, no, it's you gave me time. I've got to make this, so I'm going to get this before the end of the week.
Okay.
I keep going back to time. You've got to make time. 2024. That's such a powerful message. If you just do that, your business is going to grow. I want to thank Gary. Gary, thank you for having such an incredible podcast. We motivated, we inspired, and we educated people. Gary gave us a lot of tips today, and I've got some written down. Go back and forth with the podcast using the forward and reverse buttons and grab some of those tips that he gave you and listen to it over and over again. He talked about, or I believe habits need to be practiced and honed in. You can't just listen to something and just take it in. You need to kind of cultivate it in your own mind and your own soul. So use those. And we'd love for you to watch and listen to the whole show. And if you do, that's great. But if 5 or 8 minutes of the show change your life or make a difference, focus on that. We'll be very happy. I know Gary would. I'm going to speak for him, and I know I would, because that's the whole goal here. I don't want people not to watch a podcast with Gary White because it's too long or they don't have time, because you could be missing out on an opportunity that could really change your life. And as always, my TV show, which is Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. Together We Serve is on Apple, Roku, Samsung, LG streaming services. And, doing business with a servant's heart, I want to get this message out. Gary did an incredible job showing you what a servant heart can do and how successful you can be. Why not wear that on your chest and your head? Hats, hoodies, T-shirts, long sleeve shirts. They're available in the show notes. Just click on the link. And as always, me and Gary, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Bye, everybody.